What's up, New York Mets Nation? The Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here, letting you know coming up on this episode of the Bat Cave, I will be talking. Are the Mets primed for a huge August fall, a huge August disappointment? The Bats fall silent on the West Coast and back on the East Coast. Austin Adams, we'll talk about that clown. We'll also talk standings, wild card, NL East, and also who's next for the Mets. All that and much more. So be sure to throw your comments out there, and I will return in 50 seconds. Good morning, New York Mets Nation, and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry, and you know what day it is. It's Hump Day! What? Hump Day. All right. I kick it off a little Hump Day here with the Bat Fry. All right. Let's just get right into it, right into the depths of hell of being a Mets fan here. It's just it feels like all the good done in June and some of July is starting to be erased by the end of July and our August so far. So it's been rough, and but it's not it can be undone. So it can be fixed. It's not too late, but it's time's ticking. The time is ticking right now, and we need to see some urgency from our Mets. And so it's something, and it's one thing I know a lot of fans hate Frank the Tank, and for whatever, I get it, a little bit outlandish or a little bit over boisterous or cartoonish with his views and opinions, with the yelling and the cursing and just over the top, mumbling or whatever the hell it is you want to call it that he does. I don't know. I like Frank. I think it's funny. I think he's funny. I get his shtick. I enjoy it. I don't think it's 100% phony. I think that's, he's a passionate fan, but I do think there is a portion of it that is funny. That is staged or set up or whatever you want to say. But sometimes he does make some valid points. Sometimes when you can understand what he's saying, besides, the Mets suck, or the Mets are going to get swept by this, so they won't reach for, they won't, make the playoffs. They'll be under 500 in 2 weeks. You know how we get, the whole shtick. You get the whole shtick with Frank the Tank. I get it. But the one thing is, he does call the Mets gutless a lot, or heartless, or no heart kind of stuff. And I'm always the kind of guy that, I usually disagree with that. I always think, that they're out there, they're trying, they're trying to figure it out. They do have heart, they do have guts, and I'm starting to lean towards Frank here. I feel like the last couple of weeks, especially that West Coast trip, it felt heartless. It felt gray, if that makes any sense. It felt gray. It's not one way or the other. It was void of any sort of passion, any sort of vibrance. I just didn't feel like they were in it. They were in it to win it. I don't know. I just felt like they were going through the motions. I mean, I'm sure I'm way off base with that assessment, but that's just a feeling that I got. And for the most part, I've seen most of the innings and most of the at bats. Not every at bat, every inning, every pitch or whatever. I seen a good bit of it, and it just felt like there wasn't any push. There wasn't any feeling to it. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but it just felt like they were going through the motions. Baseball is a long season, and that's not an excuse at all. But you're going to have points where you go through that where it's hard to get up for games, or you're down because you're not playing well. It just continues to snowball, but you have to figure out a way to get out of it. And that leads me kind of to the whole Austin Adams thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Austin Adams, the relief pitcher for the Oakland Athletics, apparently was DFA'd by the Mets in spring training. I don't remember the clown. I don't remember him. I'm sure most Mets fans, casual or not, remember him. It's kind of like a who. So he gets a big strikeout yesterday. I think it was in the fifth inning, maybe. The A's starting pitcher was pulled. He was starting to struggle after a good start by him. And so he was starting to struggle. He gave up a few runs. And so they brought Austin Adams in, and he shut the door on the Mets. I think he came in with no outs, a couple guys on, and he shut the door on him. Getting a big strikeout against Alvarez. And so the first thing he does, screams, oh my God, mocking Iglesias' song or whatever, the Mets celebration, oh my God. I'm mocking that. And then, if you're a good lip reader or not, you can kind of figure out what he's saying. Basically calling them a joke, a piece of shit. The F word was used several times. DFA me, what a effing joke. And, these guys effing suck and all this good stuff. So now I think I don't understand. I don't get it. It seems to me like somebody that's been in the league for a few years should understand, especially being a relief pitcher, should understand that it is a business. There's many people vying for the same job. And guess what, buddy? You're not exactly out there throwing sub-1 ERA, striking everybody out. You're not doing some sort of terrific, all-star-esque type performances out there. I know you've led the lead in hit batters and all that good stuff before your ERA, I believe, is over 4. So you're not exactly a world beater. And I get it, getting up, if this is what gets your balls tingling to pitch in a game, is pitching against a team that cut you in spring training of all the things. It's not like they traded you at the trade deadline to the shit team or whatever. They DFA'd him in spring training, apparently. And this is what got his balls tingling was to face the Mets of New York and to yell and scream about it. But I'm hoping that this is replayed in the clubhouse over and over and over again, which it may or may not be. I don't know. I don't know how today's athletes do it or whatever. How they use bulletin board material or fodder to get themselves up. But this is something that I would use if I'm the Mets to kind of put my flag in the hill and say, all right, this is how we're going to play this game. You mock us, you call us out in front of our home fans, and call us a joke, losers, whatever it was. This is where we stick our flag. You are not making it up the hill again, and hopefully this is the turning point in August where the Mets can take their stand. Kick the A's back down the hill, and anybody else that charges up the hill, kick their asses back down the hill. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of, because the Mets are the running joke right now, again. And when you have the Oakland Athletics, who have been playing good baseball since the All-Star break, but still are the Oakland Athletics, out there, making a mockery of you, making a joke out of you, making an ass out of you. It has to light some sort of fire. It has to. And if it doesn't, then this team just isn't meant for any kind of run or the playoffs. And we should start looking forward to next season. If this doesn't light a fire under their ass, nothing will. So I'm hoping that they use this Austin Adams clown as some sort of igniter to get their asses going. And hopefully it starts with guys like Nimmo, Alvarez, JD Martinez, Pete Alonso, Jesse Winker, our big our big acquisition this year, which is basically he's a skinny Vogelback right now. Nah, he's not that bad. I think he did have a couple of hits yesterday. Excuse me. But anyway, yeah, hopefully they use this clown as an igniter to start turning their August around, get back into this race. I mean, they're not out of it. They're not out of it by a long shot, but San Diego and Arizona are getting further and further away with those top two spots, and Atlanta could easily go on a run. Atlanta still is a good team, not a bad team at all, and they could still go on a run. And we have games with Atlanta coming up here in September, and it's gonna hedge on it. It's gonna hedge this. The Mets season is gonna hedge on what they do against these teams that they should be beating, and if they're able to hold serve or at least gain a little bit of ground against San Diego and Arizona come up at the end of the month. The rest of this month is gonna loom large to what they do in September. If the Mets fall flat on their face the rest of this series, the rest of this month against teams they should beat, and then against San Diego and Arizona, then September doesn't matter. If they fall flat, play sub 500 ball the rest of the way in the month of August, September is not going to matter. And it's going to be looked back on as not May as being the most disappointing month. It's going to be looked back on as August being the most disappointing month. Look who the Mets had. I understand the whole West Coast thing. The traveling that they had to do with the weird scheduling and stuff. They head out to the Angels, Los Angeles. They lose 2 out of 3 there. Should never happen. Absolutely should never happen. One of the worst teams in the league, worst pitching staffs in the league. No Trout, no Ohtani. And the Mets go out there and lose 2 out of 3. Close games, but still, you lose 2 out of 3 to the Angels. Team you have to beat. Then they head to St. Louis, I believe it was. They win that 6-0. And you're like, all right. They just laid a turd out there in Los Angeles. They played St. Louis, a team that's in the wild card race. One of their competition in the wild card race. They go out there and they beat them down 6-0. Manaea looks great. Everybody looks great. The bats were clicking. Then they head to Colorado. Take 2 out of 3 at Colorado, but the offense is waning until that last game. And then it finally wakes up. But still, you feel uncomfortable with those first 2 games. The Mets split. It just in Colorado, you should be able to score runs. You should be able to smash the ball. But our big guys, Nimmo, Alonso, Martinez, Alvarez, Winker, Vientos, are not bashing the ball. And when you're in Colorado, you've got to bash the ball. The Rockies, they were hitting the ball out of the ballpark. The Mets were not. They didn't have their first home run in that series until that final game. And I think they ended up with 3. I think it was 2 by Pete, 1 by Vientos. I think I could be wrong there. But it was long over. In Colorado, you got to get what you can get it. And they weren't getting it. But they do take 2 out of 3 against Colorado. And, so that's good. Colorado, one of the lesser teams in the league there. Heading up to Seattle. Seattle, one of the hotter teams, one of the better teams in the league. Great pitching staff. Offensively, by most accounts, mediocre. Well, we go up there, we get our asses kicked. 6-0, 4-0, 12-1. And that 12-1 game, I thought Severino started off. I thought he started off really good pitching. He had that mishap by Lindor. Not saying that he would have gotten the out at first. It was a slow roller to him, a slow bouncer, I think it was. It would have been a close play. But you expect him to make at least the play to first on that one, not to bobble it and get no shot at all at first base. That extends the inning, and Severino gets lit up the rest of that inning, and then the wheels fall off for the Mets. But those games, 6-0 and 4-0, offensively, anemic. I mean, that's not even the word for it. It was so bad offensively for the Mets for those 2 games. And the only run we get in that whole series, the whole series was shit offensively. To score 1 run in 3 games, I get it. The Mariners supposedly have this great pitching staff. And from everything that I've seen, I've watched most of those games. It is a very good pitching staff. It is. And if you're going to win baseball games in October, you need a very good pitching staff and a very good bullpen. But you also need some offense. And the Mariners, from everything that you've heard, a mediocre type offense, but they look fine to me. They looked, they put up 4 runs, 6 runs, and 12 runs. They looked A-okay. But the Mets offense, brutal. Starting pitching, Manaea struggled the first inning of his outing. I think he only pitched like 3 innings. He was up to 80-some pitches. And it's been a while since he's laid a clunker, so you kind of give him that one. Who was the other one? I don't remember who pitched. I think Manaea pitched the second game, the 4-0 game. Severino pitched last. It doesn't matter who it was. Just basically came down to offense. Mets couldn't score runs. Mariners did. Get our asses swept back home. And now we're facing the Athletics. Against a team that we need to beat. Again, like I said, they did listen to Howie Rose last night on the radio, making the point that the Athletics are one of the better teams since the All-Star break. They've been playing well, and they get some pretty good teams. That I know they've put up a pretty good series against the Phillies. I think against the Yankees as well. I think they gave I could be wrong. I think they gave the Braves some fits. But yeah, so the A's have been playing well, but still, that's a team you got to beat, especially at home, coming all the way back home. And I don't want to hear the excuse about the West Coast trip. It's bullshit. Teams do it all the time. Teams go out to the West Coast. They have to play. They have to play well, and there's no excuse. Oh, but we went from Los Angeles to St. Louis to Colorado to Seattle. I don't care. For me, I don't care. You got to win those games against teams that you have to beat. That you should beat. I'm trying to say. You have to win those games against teams that you should be beating, and they did not. So, the series against the A's last night, the Mets, they did battle back. They got within a couple of runs, but stalled out. Francisco Lindor continues to play well. He gets a couple hits. Pete did get a knock with a couple runners on. You got a 2-run. I think it was a 2-run single out of it. A nice hit there. But again, before the 2 previous at bats, striking out. Saw 6 pitches in those 2 at bats. I mean, that's frustrating. That's really frustrating. Watching guys like Pete Alonso. I'm a huge Pete Alonso mark. I'm a huge Pete Alonso fan. I think the Mets, should pay Pete, whatever he wants. That's me. I know a lot of Mets fans don't agree with me, and that's fine. That's fine. You can have your opinion. I'm cool with it. But Pete's got to do a better job. And Francisco Alvarez. I'm a huge Francisco Alvarez fan. I love Francisco Alvarez. I love the energy he usually brings. Is he playing hurt? Does his thumb bother him? He says no. Then you know what? If it's not bothering you, then we got to see production. We got to see production. These guys are not making adjustments at the plate. These are professional hitters. Professional hitters, with professional hitting coaches too. So I don't know what the hell these guys are doing. These hitting coaches. Your batting coach or whatever the hell they want to call them. What are these guys doing? We have 2 of them, and I can't think. Eric Chavez is one. I can't think of the other clown. But when I see Francisco Alvarez and Pete Alonso hit, they look exactly the same from several weeks ago. I don't see any adjustments. I see 0 adjustments. Swing and a miss at these outside pitches, outside sliders, or whatever, and not even close. Looking retarded. It's like I don't know. I don't know how to even explain it. They look silly. They look downright stupid, and they got to make adjustments. I don't know. I'm not a professional hitter. I'm a fat ass, so I can't give them any tips. And it's easy for me to sit behind a little screen here and point fingers and say they need to do this, they need to do that. But obviously, it's not working. Obviously, you need to make the goddamn adjustment, and they're not doing it. It's frustrating beyond belief because you know the talent that they have. You know the talent that Pete Alonso has. You know the talent that Francisco Alvarez has, and to see the route it's going right now is completely frustrating. As you look at Pete Alonso, 3 extra base hits in August. In August, we're halfway through. He has 3 extra base hits, and those 3 hits are 3 home runs, and 2 of those home runs came in Colorado. That's not good. That's not good enough. You want the money, hit the damn ball in the gap. Hit it over the fence, hit it in the gap, get your extra base hits. Francisco Alvarez, 1 home run since June 28th, and only 5 extra base hits since then. And one of them is a home run. So Paul Spencer checking in, our resident Braves fan. What's up, Paul? Boy, the Mets are falling. Outscored 31-5 last 4 games. Yeah, and it's disgusting, and it's frustrating, and for the Mets fans, fan base, it's heartbreaking because you've seen the potential in this team. We could have easily dropped back and punted after what happened in May, the May malaise, as Frank the Tank calls it, and others. But the Mets fought back into the race in June. They looked great in June. Most of July looked really good. And then for the end of July and coming into halfway through August here, it's been a shit show. It really has been. And like I said earlier, Paul, I don't know if you were watching earlier or not, or who's joining us late. But if you didn't see it, Austin Adams, relief pitcher for the Athletics last night, apparently was DFA'd by the Mets. I don't remember this idiot. I don't remember this clown, but it was DFA'd by the Mets in spring training. I guess he did not understand that there are roster limits and it's a business. He must be new to this, even though he's been around for many years and been on a couple different teams. And so he had himself a little celebration out there after he got out of I think it was the 5th inning, where the A's starting pitcher got himself into some trouble. The Mets were able to battle back, get with a few runs. I think it made it 7-4, and they brought Adams in. He was able to shut the door on the Mets. The Mets had a couple runners on. He strikes out Francisco Alvarez to end the inning, and he has himself a little, I don't even know what the hell to call it. Just started screaming, oh my God, mocking Iglesias. I don't know what the hell they call him. It ain't Caliente. It's something. I don't know what the hell it is. What his stage name is or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, and then after that, F and DFA me, what a effing joke, bunch of effing losers, and and then he gets in the dugout and he just continues it. If this doesn't light your ass, I don't know what will. If this doesn't light the Mets' ass, then you might as well just pack it in. So I'm looking for a big game tonight for the Mets at 7:00 against the Athletics. I'm looking for the rest of the series to be big for the Mets, and if it's not, just pack it in. Close up your little lockers. Take your little suits out of your little lockers. Fold them up. Put them away. Get ready for the off season. Start swinging your little golf clubs or whatever it is you do in your off season, and just be done with it. Paul says, "Boy, I thought the Mets would catch the Phillies during their collapse and defeat and pass my Braves. They're one of the hottest teams in baseball. They did pass your Braves twice, Paul, but each time they pass your Braves, they end up losing like 3 or 4 games in a row after that. So that's the frustrating part. I did say this on the back cave, I think it was last week, that if the Mets pass the Braves, hopefully they don't shit the bed again and lose a couple in a row and fall behind them further. And that's exactly what happened. If you remember, I think it was July. The Mets passed the Braves. They had a 4-game series with the Braves. They won the first 2. They passed the Braves in the wild card, and it was all celebration. Hey, yeah, we're the best wild card team there is. Right, let's go Mets. And then the Braves proceed to take the next two from the Mets, and we're back to being a game and a half out. And so this time around, the Mets, fly past the Braves again for the final wild card spot. And it's back to, hey, we're the third best wild card team there is. Yay, hooray. And since then, it's been all downhill. Now we're 2 games behind the damn Braves. And it just seems like anytime the Mets find themselves in a playoff spot, they throw up on themselves. They shit the bed. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe they're just not long for the playoffs. Cowboy Dave would like to know what is going on with the Mets. Unbelievable. Dave, can't hit the ball. Bullpen is not playing great. Starting pitching starting to falter a little bit. It's starting to break down, brother. It is starting to break down. You can catch Cowboy Dave and our boy Paul Spencer tonight on Dem 215 Boys talking Dallas Cowboy football. The Cowboys, they'll be talking their last preseason game against who did they play? Was it the Chargers? I don't know, the Rams or somebody like that. It doesn't matter who it was. It doesn't matter. It's preseason. They do play the Raiders coming up, so that does matter. Raiders. No, it doesn't. It's preseason. It doesn't matter. But yeah, tonight we have Peterson versus Estes. Braves finding ways to win two in a row in the 10th inning. I think would they win 1-0 or something like that last night. The Braves winning 2 in a row, but still, it's been a tough sledding for the Braves, a tough sledding for the Phillies. The Phillies have played so bad that it's still unbelievable to me that the Braves did not catch them. If this was the Mets, if the Mets were in first place, a la 2022, they played as bad as the Phillies, the Braves would have blew past them. Because it's the Phillies been playing like shit. The Braves are like, you know what? We'll play like shit too. But if it was the Mets, the Braves would have said, oh, let's win 15 in a row so we can pass these Mets out, make a goddamn joke out of them, a la 2022 again. Breakdown. The Phils are falling. Yes, the Phillies are falling as well. And that's what I said earlier, Dave. With the Mets schedule remaining for the rest of this month, it's for me, as a Mets fan, it's do or die. You need to come out with a winning record the rest of this month. And you need to hold serve against the Padres and Diamondbacks at the end of the month. I'll get to their schedule coming up here in a couple minutes. Paul says Rams, and we know Trey Lance sucks. Last night, 4-3, Travis d'Arnaud his single in the 10th. Scoring, man, for that Travis d'Arnaud, man. He did some decent things for the Mets, but he found his way out of Flushing there, out of Queens, and down Atlanta, and every time the Mets face him, he kills us. Just like that goddamn Justin Turner. Justin Turner! Man. Frustrating. All right, but anyway. So back to our struggles here. Brandon Nimmo, I don't know what to say about Brandon Nimmo. Still getting on base occasionally with walks, but he said they were talking about it last night. So I said, why broadcast? How Nimmo said that he doesn't know. He's missing underneath. He's missing over the top. He's working on it, but he's just trying to figure it out. And it sucks when you struggle, but to struggle as long as he has, and he was one of our big power sources, through June and stuff like that. For him to get as cold as he has been, it's rough. I'm really surprised that they haven't dropped him in the lineup and moved somebody else up. They moved McNeil up to 2, dropped Nimmo down to like 5 or 6, and see what happens there. See if he can kind of figure it out, and then move him back up to 2 later on. I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't really moved him around that much. JD Martinez's lack of power, that's frustrating. I don't think he has a home run this month. No, I think he has 1 home run so far this month. I think he had 1 last month. August. Yeah, he has 1 home run. It's against the Angels. And he has 2 extra base hits, 2 doubles besides that. Then looking back in July, 1 home run in July, 2 home runs in July. That's not good enough. That's absolutely not good enough. 1, 2, 3, 4 doubles in July. Need more out of JD Martinez as well. I know people like JD Martinez. I get it. But, he's a hired bat. You bring him in for that reason, to hit the ball, and he's not hitting the ball. He's not hitting the ball for power, I should say. He's not hitting for power. I mean, this month he's hitting 188 so far with a 677 OPS, a 333 on base, 344 slug. That's trash. That's straight up garbage. Last month, 235, a 684 OPS. That's trash. 658 slug. I don't know what it is with him, with JD Martinez, but he's got to figure his shit out as well. I'm glad the Mets didn't sign him to a huge long-term contract, which he was looking for. I'm glad it was a one-year gimmick, and that's that. But yeah. So moving on from that, looking at the standings here, looking at the East, I'll look at the East first. The Phillies are still in first place, like they've been the whole season, 69-50. The plus 85 run differential, 4-6 in their last 10. Losers of 4 in a row. So as much as it pains me, as poorly as the Mets are playing, F the Phillies. The Phillies lost 4 in a row. That's good too. Gives me a little smile. It gives me a little. That's a smile. That's a smile there, trying to creep out. The Braves, second place, 63-56, 6 games back, a plus 36 run differential, 3-7 in their last 10. Winners of 2 in a row. Again, the Braves have been playing like trash, but they're a good team, just like the Phillies, and they can turn it around any second and go on a huge run. So you got to get them while the getting's good, and it's not happening. Mets 61-58, 8 games back, plus 15 run differential, 3-7 in their last 10. Losers of 4 in a row. The Washington Nationals, 55-65, 14.5 out, minus 54 run differential, 6-4 in their last 10, winners of 1. Miami, 45-75, 24.5, negative 156 run differential. That's rough. 5-5 in their last 10, winners of 2 in a row. So now looking at this wild card, these wild card standings, Arizona and San Diego are just killing it right now. They're so hot, the hottest teams in the league. And they're sitting at 1-2 in the wild card, and they're running away with it, basically. Arizona 68-53 plus 4 over the Braves, over the final spot. Right, yeah, that's how it works. San Diego 68-53, a plus 4. Then the Braves are sitting in that final wild card spot, 63-56. The Mets 61-58, 2 games back. San Francisco Giants, who are playing much better, 61-61, 3.5 back. St. Louis, 60-60, 3.5 back. The Mets hold the tiebreaker with St. Louis. Cincinnati, 59-61, 4.5 back. Chicago Cubs, 59-62, 5 back. And the Pittsburgh Pirates have fallen off a little bit, 56-63, 7 games back. Yeah, the Pirates kind of fallen on some hard times recently. Excuse me, but they were in it a little bit for a little bit there. They were getting hot. But from everything, I don't watch a whole lot of Pirates baseball, but from everything I understand and I've read, it basically comes down to not enough hitting. They got some great arm talent there, starting pitchers and stuff, but you got to score some runs, and they're not doing it, just like the Mets. The Mets aren't pitching well either. So on that, Reed Garrett did come back off the IL, though, and we did get to see Reed Garrett against the Mariners, I believe it was. And he looked good. Pitched 1 inning, had a couple strikeouts. He looked good. So hopefully we see Reed Garrett. I feel like we'll see probably Reed Garrett again tonight. When the Mets go to the bullpen, I wouldn't be too surprised. And hopefully we get to see him again. And he continues to look good. Like early season Reed Garrett. Early season Reed Garrett was awesome. Striking people out left and right. Looked untouchable. Excuse me. Cowboy Dave says, I see Peterson is on the mound tonight for the Mets. They need a win against the A's. Yes, it's so tonight it's Joey Estes, who's 5-4 with a 4.70 ERA, a 1.20 WHIP against David Peterson, who's 6-1, 3.34 ERA, 1.42 whip. Peterson's since coming off the IL, he's pitched well for the Mets for the most part. I think he might have had one or two outings that weren't all that great, but for the most part, he's pitched well. He has pitched well, and which is good. So we got a lefty out there. Hopefully, he can turn it around, get a win for the Mets. Up that record to 7-1, lower that ERA a little bit, lower that WHIP. Walks are still killing the Mets. They're still the worst team in the league in allowing walks, and it's the same as last year. It's so frustrating. It's just allowing people on base, free runners on base. It kills you. It absolutely kills you. Eileen, hello, Eileen. Eileen, guess what day it is? Hump Day. Yes, it is. Paul says Diamondbacks and Padres are on fire, 9-1. Pirates from wild card to almost saying hi to the White Sox. I don't know if it's that bad, but it's bad. No hitting, should have hit the trade deadline for bats. They needed it. And I don't know, Paul, what they have to give away. That's part of the problem, or what they have, what they'd want to give away, in the farm system or on the active roster, the active 25-man roster they have, or 40-man roster, whatever, what have you. I don't know if they have anything that's enticing enough to where they could have gotten something game changing, or maybe they have stuff in their they have players in their farm system that they don't want to give up, that they feel like are going to be studs for them. But then again, it's the Pirates, and it seems like the Pirates just, I don't know, they just don't go that extra mile for whatever reason, because they've had some decent teams in the past, especially when what's his name was a little bit younger, McCutchen. When McCutchen was a little bit younger, they did have some teams then, that were pretty decent playoff teams, and it always felt like they were just a player or two short from being really, really big contenders, and it just never happened. And guys, they trade guys away, let guys walk because they didn't want to pay them, and they're back to being the Pirates. And now again, they got all these great young arms headed off by Paul Skeens, and now they don't have the bats. Instead of going out there and getting some for whatever reason, here they are now. They found themselves only a couple games out of the wild card, and now find themselves dropping quickly. So it is what it is. You could say what you want about the Mets or any of these teams about what they do with their off seasons or their trade deadlines, how they overpay for some players. I'm fine with them overpaying for anybody. One, it's not my money that they're overpaying with. Two, that tells me they're trying to freaking win, and I can accept that. I can absolutely accept that. Sometimes it makes you scratch your head, like, why the hell are we overpaying for this guy when we can overpay for that freaking guy? So, the guys that they're choosing to overpay, that makes you scratch your head a little bit. But I have no problems with my team overpaying because they're trying to win. It does hurt, though, sometimes when they overpay for some guys and then they find themselves in a huge hole for a couple of years. That hurts, but I'm about the here and now kind of thing. And with that being said, it's something I was talking about last night at work, where the Mets, I think it was 2 nights ago, I was talking to a fellow Met fan at work, both kind of in hiding right now. And, said basically, the Mets did what they did at the trade deadline because, they have some big contracts that they're trying to get out from under of yet. Off the top of my head, I think the Scherzer and Verlander contracts, they'll be off the books this year after this season, and looking ahead towards 2025. And Scherzer, when he got traded by the Mets, he did the douchebag thing and kind of spilled the beans about what Mets told him when they asked him to waive his no trade clause and what their plans were and all that good stuff. And basically, the way it was portrayed was that 2024, the Mets were just looking to be competitive, to field a competitive team. In 2025, they're looking to make a run at the World Series. We'll see what happens this offseason, because next year is 2025, obviously. But the Mets have done exactly what Scherzer said that he was told was they put a competitive team. The Mets are a competitive team. And like I said before the season started, I predicted 82 to 85 wins. I still feel confident in that. And I said before the season started, 82 to 85 wins, that puts you in the wild card race. Now, whether or not they make the wild card, playoffs or make the playoffs through the wild card, that's remains to be seen yet. But they're in the race. They're exactly where I thought they would be. But just seeing, there's times that this lineup plays so well, you can't help but feel excited. Like, oh man, like if this offense gets on a roll, watch out, they can do some damage. And all of a sudden they go ice cold for 2 weeks. It's like, oh my God, they suck ass again. It's really frustrating. Dave says, all right, back to trying to get the mouse in the house. Uh-oh. Have a great show, big man. See ya. Dave, get yourself a cat. An orange cat. My orange cat, he's a mouse killer. He's a mouser. And I know it's maybe taboo to talk about mice in your house, but it happens. It's most houses have mice. You don't even know that they're there. But as the temperatures change, it starts getting cooler. Activity picks up, and I have 2 cats. One a black and gray striped looking fella cat. I don't know what kind of cat that is, and then an orange cat. And the black and gray cat, he's up there in years now. I think he's like 12, 13, 14 years old, somewhere around there. So his mouse catching days are pretty much over. He doesn't catch anything except hell from the orange cat. The orange cat's 1 year old, around there somewhere, and he's a mouser. He's caught himself some mice, and he does a good job. It's a good boy. So get yourself a cat, an orange cat. Hey, Paul, I would take the Mets too, and that's I feel good about tonight. Over 7 runs, I think I'd go with that as well. And like I said again, I keep harping on it. The whole Austin Adams thing still has me pissed off. And if the Mets aren't pissed off, well then they don't deserve to be in the race. So I feel like we're going to see a fired up Mets team, maybe a fired up Mets team that we haven't seen all season. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for the bats to click, and I wouldn't be surprised if tonight's a blowout. Like a 8-1, 9-1. I ain't gonna say double digits, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was double digits. And if they come out there and they lose 4-0 or 4-1, close the suitcases. Then you're done. If you can't get up for the game now after that guy made a dick out of you, the middle reliever who hits people and is as a journeyman, doesn't understand it's a goddamn business, and gets his panties in a bunch because the Mets DFA'd him in spring training. Get the hell over it, you loser. To be honest with you, if that guy was standing in my living room right now, I'd call him a loser to his face too. Probably a little bit quiet. I would say it under my breath maybe, because I don't know how big he is or how strong. But I could be fiery. I got red hair. I used to have red hair. It's mostly gray now. And the beard, it's starting to turn gray. Who am I kidding? I'm old. I ain't gonna fight anybody. My days are past me. I'll just talk about it here and make a dick out of him here. That's what I'll do. Dave said, I had a cat. She died like 2 months ago. She was no help either. Get yourself a new one. The cats are everywhere, Dave. There's cats you can drive up the street and find yourself a cat. Go to the SPCA. They're overrun with cats. If you go to the local brothel, don't get any of those cats. You're going to get warts or something, buddy. If you catch my drift, I'm not going to use the P word, but stay away from that kind of cat. You don't want that kind of cat, Dave, or you end up with an itchy crotch, and that's not good for anybody. Not the mice, not you. Not to mention your wife; she'd be upset too. So you can stay away from that. Go get yourself a real life cat, a real one from the SPCA. The SPCA cats, because there's so many of them, they're hungry too. They want, they're primal. don't get yourself some fancy designer cat, Dave. Adopt a cat at the SPCA, or find somebody that's giving kittens away for free. Get yourself a kitten, Dave. They're insane. They probably won't catch any mice this year, but they'll find them. But actually the cat I'm talking about, my cat, the orange cat, his name's Pete or Peter. We call him Peter, but Pete for short, obviously. His mom was an outdoor cat. I guess I don't want to say feral, but she lived, I guess, under the porch of an abandoned house. This is the story this lady gave us, that we actually went and she had free cats, free kittens, and we got Peter, and he was already, I think, 6 or 7 months old. So he wasn't that little cute kitten, he was kind of an awkward looking cat. He was growing out of his kittenish. If kittenish is a word, I don't know. Here we are on the Mets podcast talking about cats and kittens. My youngest daughter, would be proud. She loves cats. Her name is Callie, called Callie Cat. But anyway, back to the story here, Dave, that I'm sure everybody's on the edge of their seat saying, get to the story, Fry. I want to hear the rest of the story about this cat. But they lived under a porch. So they're out there in the elements, and their senses are heightened. They're not fat and lazy from being indoor cats. And so they're used to having to catch their food and stuff, even when they're little kittens, catching hawks and eagles and such. So if you can, Dave, find yourself an abandoned house. I'm sure there's a litter of kittens somewhere. Get yourself a kitten, or take them all. That ups your chances. If you take all the kittens, that ups your chances of a cat catching a mouse in your house. So I don't know. I'd go to the SPCA though first. Eileen's laughing. There we go, Eileen. Someone stole a cat from a bodega deli in Queens. Who steals a bodega cat? Yeah, honestly, who does that? Oh my God, a bodega cat. I see the word bodega and I think of the Star Wars. What was the was it Dagobah? It wasn't bodega. I think it was Dagobah. The Dagobah system that Luke Skywalker had to go to. And I think that's where he met up with Yoda. I think that's what it was, the Dagobah system. So when I hear bodega, that's what I think of right away. I use glue traps, set them overnight, and usually caught by morning. Then use peppermint oil, keep them away. Peppermint oil, huh? I heard something about. Well, I guess mint leaves would do the same thing. So peppermint, mint, that's all the same thing. Hey, Robert the Bruce checking in. What is up? Robert, if that word can go. Here I am. All right, I froze a little bit there. For those of you that didn't know, Robert checked into our Raiders show there on Monday, the Silver and Black Lair Raiders edition. So if you're a Raiders fan, check out that show on Mondays. I'll be 11 a.m. again next Monday before I go back to my regular time. But thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it very much. What baseball team are you following, Robert? Are you a New England guy? So maybe are you a Red Sox fan? Paul says, yes, my kitten climbs up our 10-foot wall curtains every day, 24/7 is wild. Kittens are crazy. Kittens, they're insane. I have another story going for that, but maybe I'll save that up for another day. I don't know. I told Dave the one mouse had 99 babies in the walls. He needs a litter of cats. Now, yeah, and that's probably a problem. Usually if you see one, there's more than one. And I guess the rule of thumb is if you're using traps, to set traps out, and once you stop getting mice in your traps, then move your traps to a different location, because mice aren't stupid. They're smart. They're smart little critters. So you move it to another location. If you don't get mice there, move it to another location. If you don't get mice there, you might be mouse free then. But you're never really sure unless you tear the house down and stuff like that. But usually mice, if they get the scent of a cat or death, they kind of, especially if it's, they're from their tribe. I don't know if mice have tribes or not, but I assume they do. From their herd, they kind of stay away. Then I don't know if that's true. That's something that I've heard in the past, and it could be bull. I don't know. I'm doing well, and getting ready to wrap this show up and head off to bed. I got my angst out of the way a little bit about my beloved New York Mets here, and Austin Adams making a fool out of him and shouting. That still angers and boils my blood. And if it doesn't boils the Mets' blood, then they might as well pack it in. Once again, if what Austin Adams said during the game, them screaming at them. I didn't see any reaction from the Mets. I don't know if there was reaction from the Mets when when Austin Adams was screaming at them, making idiots out of them. If the Mets had any reaction or if they even noticed, I don't know, but I'm sure they've seen the clips by now. They should have. If they didn't, if I'm Mendoza, I'm showing them. He doesn't seem like the kind of manager that does that, but that's the kind of manager I am anyway. Cowboy Dave checking in says glue traps are not working. They're too smart for that. You got to get the killing traps, Dave. Killing traps. The old snap traps. Watch your fingers; they hurt. Throw some peanut butter in that little trap, and let it do its thing. Like I said, keep putting them in the same spot until you don't get them anymore, and then move them. You also have a blessed day, Robert. I appreciate you. When I think of the Mets, I think of the Red Sox and Bill Buckner. Yes, and they were talking about that last night on Extra Innings podcast. I don't know how it came up because I missed that part, but I guess there was a Red Sox fan on there, and the Buckner came up, and he was, damn you, Bill Buckner, and I was said, thank you, Buckner, and you have to remember, that didn't win the World Series for the Mets. There was still another game to go, and so that didn't win it for the Mets, or that didn't lose it for the White Sox or for the Red Sox. I'm sorry. Well, I guess it did lose it for the Red Sox. They could have clinched the series there, but they still had another game after that where they could have won, just like the Cubs with the whole Bartman thing. That didn't lose it for the Cubs. Cubs were still winning after Bartman leaned over and tried to catch that ball. The Cubs shit the bed after that. So that's on the Cubs. That's not on Bartman, but they blamed them. So classy people. Paul says, I can't wait tonight, going off like you tonight. Talking Deion Sanders drama. Wow. And SEC conference teams too. SEC teams top to bottom. You got College Football Frenzy tonight. That's right. College Football Frenzy is tonight, 8:05 p.m. I forgot about the Frenzy being on tonight. There it is right here. Here's the old. There it is. College Football Frenzy, 8:05 tonight. Here's your schedule. So yeah, so after me, you have 8:05 is the College Football Frenzy. Then you have Dem 215 boys at 9:30 talking Dallas Cowboy football. Tomorrow night, you have at 6 p.m. the NFL Weekly Pick'em. Friday night, the Big Blue Power Hour at 8 p.m. And Friday, the Atomic Drop Podcast, 10:30. I will not be on. I work this weekend. So I will be back next week on the Atomic Drop Podcast next weekend. And back to talking wrestling. Lots of goings on there. And yeah, so go ahead and do our sponsor read here real quick. Our boy Jason Fine, Jay Fine Law Attorney, Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in Pennsylvania, his office is in Pittsburgh on 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in Philadelphia, with his offices located on 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. And the phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's, again, Jason Fine, Attorney Big Al. All right, got one more comment. And new show next Tuesday, Part-Time Marks talking WWE and NXT. So, yes, we have another wrestling show coming up here next Tuesday. Part-Time Marks. And I think it's at 10:30. Paul, I'm pretty sure it's 10:30. They'll be talking WWE, Raw, SmackDown, whatever, and also NXT. That's something that myself and Cowboy Dave and Adam the Answer Glenn does not talk about. We don't watch NXT, and so we usually just talk Raw and SmackDown. But it's going to be good to have a wrestling show on Tuesday night to get that fresh reaction from Raw. Because a lot of times when we do our show on Saturday, you have SmackDown that's fresh in your mind, but Raw seems so long ago. So that's a struggle there, and it's good to have a wrestling show on for us at Tuesday, and they're going to knock it out of the park. I have no doubt. 10:30 with Larry and Kurt McGirt. You've seen him on the Atomic Drop podcast the last few weeks. He wasn't on this past weekend, but the previous 2 weekends I was on with him 2 weekends ago, and he does a hell of a job. Kurt McGirt in his mom's basement. I love it. Got to have a gimmick, right? All right, so that's all I have for today. Real quick, I wanted to go over this, but I forgot to. Real quick, like I said, tonight, A's at Mets. You have Joey Estes versus Peterson. Tomorrow, you have Mitch Spence versus Jose Quintana. Mitch Spence is 7-8 with a 4.33 ERA, 1.31 WHIP, and Jose Quintana 6-8, 4.10 with a 1.25 WHIP. I think his last time out, if I remember correctly, I think he laid an egg, but he's been pitching much better. His last bunch of starts. Then the Mets have 3 versus the Marlins. Got to win those games. The Mets always struggle with the damn Marlins. I don't know what it is. Then after that, it's going to be rough, tough sledding. You got 3 versus Baltimore. That's going to be in Queens. Then you go back out to the West Coast for 4 at San Diego. Must split. At the very least, that has to be a split, but you want to win that series. 3 at Arizona. You have to win that series. And 3 at the Chicago White Sox. 2 of those games are to end the month and then 1 to start the next month. That has to be a sweep. Has to be a sweep. The Mets have to take 2 of 3 versus the Marlins. They have to take 2 or 3 against Baltimore. They have to at least split against San Diego. 2 or 3 versus Arizona, and they have to sweep Chicago if they want to stay relevant in this race. If they just gotta go ahead and pack it in, right now is the perfect time for it. Because like I said, they struggle against the Marlins. They have Baltimore, top team in the wild card right now, one of the top teams in the AL East. They have San Diego, Arizona, both tied for the top spot in the NL wild card. That right there is a perfect time. You have 10 games where we're going to find out if the Mets are in it to win it or they're just going to pack it in against the good teams. So we'll see what happens the rest of this series and then against the Marlins. And then we'll figure it out from there. And by then I should be back on with the Batcave next Wednesday at 11. All right, so that's all I have for today. Thank you, everybody, for checking the show out. Thank you for commenting. For those that commented, if you didn't comment, don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Throw your comment out there. If you don't want your comment posted, don't be afraid. Comment and say, please don't post, and then throw your question out there. I'll throw it up. I'll just put it out there. I won't put your name on there or whatever. But I throw every comment out there, and sometimes I throw spam comments out there. I don't realize it until I throw it up, but still, I put it on. And So I kind of lost my train of thought there. I got the little guy here kind of wandering around next to me and trying to tiptoe. Dave says 2 hot teams, Arizona and San Diego, are going to be tough. Yeah, Baltimore, San Diego, Arizona, all 3 in a row. That's a pecker slapper, and it's going to be rough. It's going to be tough, but it's going to show us what kind of grit, kind of determination the Mets have. But you got to win these 2 against Athletics. Got to win 2 or 3 versus the Marlins before we even think about Baltimore. All right. Now I'm done. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Be sure to tune in. Same bat time, same bat channel next Wednesday, 11 a.m. And I'll see you then. Let's go, Mets. Brennan, come here. Say, let's go, Mets. Ready?
Let's go, Mets.
One more time.
Let's go, Mets.
All right. See you guys later.